Hello folks, and welcome into TK Power Sports. This is the Yamaha RMAX2 1000. Now you might have heard the news recently that the Yamaha YXZ Pure Sport side-by-side is dead. It is no longer being built, and that means if you want a pure sport machine from Yamaha, this is the closest you're going to get. So in this video, we're gonna hit all kinds of trails, go flying through some whoops, and then talk about, can the RMAX2 really live up to the thrilling experience that the YXZ delivered? Well, let's find out right now. Let's kick this one off with a walk around. So this is the RMAX2 1000 SE as it's sold here in Canada. Whoop, I have to stop myself there and provide you guys with an update. So the model you see in this video is a 2025, and yes, in 2025 it was the RMAX2 1000 SE, that stands for Special Edition. But now, as of 2026, Yamaha Canada, or should I say Yamaha Canada, has finally gained access to the trademark for the XTR name. Up until now, XTR models were always SEs in Canada, but now they will also be XTRs just like they are in the States. Now back to the review. So something you'll notice right away, standard worn winch down there in the bumper, that's also handy. Another thing I really like on this RMAX, these attachment points right up here sticking out of the bumper. Not only are they good to put a D-shackle in and then recover the vehicle, they're great for tying it down to a trailer too. And a lot of side-by-sides still don't have super obvious points to tie down, and why not? They're so commonly transported on trailers. So really like having these hooks right here. Now, as we come around, you're going to see a big set of rubber. That's a set of 30-inch Maxxis Carnivores. Nice to have those. Behind that, a set of Fox 2-inch QS3 shocks. QS3 stands for Quick Switch 3, and that's because there's little clickers up in here, and there's 3 different settings. So, you know, 1 is softest, 3 is the firmest, and then you can pick what works for you. We'll probably play around with those in a little bit. Now, talking about suspension travel, you're getting over 14 inches in the front and just about 17 inches in the rear. So some really good suspension travel numbers here on the RMAX2. Then as we get around to the back, it has a fully dumping bed. Capacity in this bed is 600 pounds, and it has a 2-inch hitch receiver, and you can tow up to 2,000 pounds. So this is categorized as a recreation utility, where that YXZ was just straight up recreation. It was just strictly a toy. The RMAX2, you can really still work with it, and I do appreciate that. Now I'll pop this bed real quick, because underneath it, you can see the 999cc parallel twin engine that powers this thing. It is putting out about 108 horsepower, so a pretty decent amount of power there as well. Now, other accessories on our unit today, you're going to notice we do have a windshield up there, which is nice. We do have the roof. Now, that's standard on this model. And then we also get this soft rear windshield here, which is kind of nice. And then you can open it up to let the breeze through if you want to. And now we can take a quick look inside as well. So you get hard doors here. One thing you'll notice, no handles on the outside. The Yamaha only puts the handles on the inside. Their thinking is the exterior handles just get caked up with mud and get gross, and it's not really a big deal to reach in and open it from inside. So I do like that. Now, I'll lodge my biggest complaint right now. It's been like this for as long as I can remember. These guys right here. Yamaha's whole thinking here is this is going to keep you nice and tucked into the machine, doesn't let your arm come out easily. I like the safety aspect, but you can already see the issue. I'm a big wide guy. I'm constantly leaning into it. So yes, while I appreciate the safety, it just needs to be pointed out that if you're as big as me, you're going to be banging into that thing for sure. Now, ergonomics are great. Loads of headroom, even with my helmet on, so no issue there. I do like the dead pedal down here for my left foot. Really solid, and that helps me to really kind of plant my body. Now right here I can show you another control that's important. This is the 4-wheel drive knob, and that's a new one that you're going to notice, a new setting for this RMAX. It is turf mode. Up until now, the rear differential was always locked in the RMAX, but now you can put it in turf mode, which you can essentially think of as one-wheel drive. It's going to let you go around a tight corner and not tear up the ground underneath you. And let's be honest, when you're out here on the trail, that probably doesn't matter, but a lot of people just ride around their house. You want to give give your kids a ride, or heck, you're working with this thing and you're driving around your house, you don't want to rip up the lawn. Well, before you didn't have an option because your rear diff was always locked, so you'd be kind of chugging going around corners, tearing up the grass. Now we have turf mode. I love that from Yamaha. When they did it, I told them it was brilliant, and then I told them you have to bring this to all of your models. I'd love to see turf mode on, you know, a Grizzly and every other side-by-side that Yamaha makes. So that is appreciated right there. I also have drive modes. I have sport, trail, and crawl mode here in this Yamaha. That really just affects your throttle position and how much throttle you really have to give it to get into that power band. Put it in crawl and the throttle becomes way less sensitive. That allows you to modulate it a little bit easier. Put it in sport and the throttle becomes maximum sensitive. I also have selectable power steering here, high, standard, and low, so you can pick how much power steering you get in your hands. This is another thing I think is just a smart choice. Why not give me the option for how I like my power steering? And more choice is always better for the consumer. And then finally, I'm also getting a nice touchscreen up here in the middle, and I can show you some more features on that. This is the Yamaha Adventure Pro system, and if you're familiar with Yamaha Wave Runners, you're going to be very familiar with this because the off-road guys actually said, hey, you know, Wave Runner team, your system's really good. Can we borrow it? And then they adopted it over here for off-road. I like the layout. This is your main screen. These are also customizable, so you can change what you're seeing. GPS, of course, this is massively important these days, so nice to have the GPS system. Let's see how long it takes to load. Yeah, not too bad. And clicking and dragging is actually pretty quick. And then, of course, you can lay down waypoints and track yourself as you're on the trail. So love that. There's some information that you can log. This is your off-road screen, so it tells you know what's going on with your differentials and then your pitch and roll. Of course, full Bluetooth music if you hook up your phone. A rear camera here too. It's not installed on this unit, but you could have it. And then you can, go through your settings. And this is another thing with the pin setting here. You can actually set it up so the machine won't start unless you put a certain pin in as well. That's something as well from the Wave Runner world that they've brought over here to the off-road world. But why not have one more little bit of safety there? I appreciate that. So Yamaha Adventure Pro looks great and delivers all the info you need. There's a few other features I'll show you here on the interior. First, passenger grab handle, but this one is adjustable. So you grab this little guy and then you can push it in and pull it out. Nice for different height of passengers. Get a little shelf here. I like that they put this rubberized coating on it with a bit of texture too. So if you toss your phone there, it should actually stay somewhat in place. Full glove box there, which is actually quite deep, more than enough for our GoPro mounts, which I like. You get another little shelf here down underneath the screen. And then what I really like, USB port. As you can see, we're charging our GoPro right now. So yeah, nice to have power when you're out on the move. Now for storage over here, 2 cup holders, of course. And then this center console bin in the RMAX is very shallow. It's not very deep, just enough space for a walkie-talkie. And we got an old towel. And then of course our paperwork in there, and then just a tiny bit of storage back here behind. You can see we just got our drone bag right here, so not a massive amount of kind of big storage, but at hand storage. There's plenty of little spots to stash your stuff, including one over here by my left knee as well, down beside the steering wheel. All right folks, now here we are on the trail in this RMAX2. And first let me talk a little bit about the trails we're on. So we're here at the VMUTS trails. That is the Voyageur multi-use trail system here in Mattawa, Ontario. And we're actually here with a purpose. Over on Truck King, we're doing a whole adventure series where we're taking a couple of Toyota Trail Hunters, a 4Runner and a Tacoma, and we're exploring the history of the Hudson's Bay Company and the fur trade here in Ontario. And Mattawa was a very important point for the fur trade. The big thing here is this is where the Ottawa River and Mattawa River split. So if you go on the Ottawa River, that means you're going to the Arctic. If you choose to go Mattawa River, that means you're going west, and you can go, all the way to the Pacific. Some of these people actually did that. So yes, Mattawa was a very historically significant place. That's why we're here. If you happen to be interested in this history like I am, I'm absolutely fascinated by it, go over to Truck King, to our main channel, and watch our whole adventure series. You'll see some great off-roading here on VMUTS with a couple of Toyotas, and then you're gonna see this RMAX make a ton of appearances on a trailer behind the Tacoma and the 4Runner. In this video, we're not diving into the history as much. I just wanted to take the chance to, you know, get out here on these trails and do a review. And the beauty thing with the VMUCH trails is 300 kilometers of trails here and all kinds of surfaces, mud, sand, rocks, a bit of everything. So yeah, let's experience it. Now, there's one thing I'm going to address right off the top, and that is the simple fact that the RMAX2 is noisy. Let me shut up, you have a listen. Now, I'm happy to tell you that off the line, that 108 horsepower hits hard. It's plenty powerful, but yes, this engine is loud. And this is one of the things with the little two-seat model, I'm basically sitting on the engine. It's right next to me, and that just adds to the noise because it's right there. I've been in the RMAX4 and the RMAX4 Compact, and when you move that engine back a little bit, it does help, but yeah, you can't get around it, man. It's a noisy one. So for the purposes of this review, I'm going to try and slow down a little bit so that the engine noise isn't in our way. And one other thing I can do is I'm going to put it over into crawl mode. Now this isn't going to make it any quieter, but what it does is it really dulls the throttle. So it just means that I'm less likely to be revving up high revs all the time, and that's going to help to keep it a bit quieter too. Now here we are coming up a little rock climb right here. I'll go over the gnarliest part of it. And rock. Yeah, no problem here for the RMAX. I've been switching constantly today between two-wheel and four-wheel drive, which it'll do on the fly. I think though the best setting in the four-wheel drive system is the diff lock, and the fact that with this updated RMAX2, there's actually a power steering mode that is specifically for the diff lock. Now you can't access it anywhere. You just gotta put the diff locker on, and then the power steering cranks up even more. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you, this is a machine where you can forget that the front differential is locked, because the power steering absolutely compensates for it. You don't get that heavy steering feel in your hand. It's really quite incredible. So yes, kudos to Yamaha for giving us that power steering mode. Now besides that, I've been running mostly in standard power steering, which is that middle setting. I like it in low because I like the feedback. And then high is over boosted, but what I like more than anything is the choice. And what I actually find myself doing is when I first come out in the morning, I usually start in low, and as the day goes on, let's face it, you get tired, you get a little less, you know, interested in having so much weight in your hands. So I feel like low is my early morning setting when I'm, you know, ready and raring to rip. And then by the end of the day, I stick it in high, and I allow the machine to, yeah, take all that shock out of my hands, which is nice. Now, the real crown jewel in this machine, I gotta say, is the suspension. You know, 17 inches of travel in the rear end. It's incredible. And this is what I'm talking about, you know, comparing it to the YXZ. This is not a pure sport machine, but it has numbers that some pure sport machines still have. And, you know, the best stuff we have out there, it had 17 inches of travel not long ago. So it's not like because it's a Rec U, you're really giving up a lot of suspension travel. And then the suspension itself, I'm hitting stuff faster and faster and faster and big gnarly whoops. And so far haven't found anything near what I consider to be the limit. Now with this little shorty wheelbase, it's definitely a little jumpy. I describe it as a little firecracker in some ways. When you are coming over those whoops, it does kind of buck front to back. But that's actually exciting too. That's really fun. It just has that sort of quick snap kind of handling, which I like. So yeah, suspension swallows everything up. And then with those tires up front, man, they grab for whichever direction you want to go. The other thing I like is the way this thing can set up for a corner. I feel like as I come into a corner, I can kind of chop the throttle, feel the weight transfer to the nose, that unloads my rear end, and then as I start to steer in, I can just let the back end step out a little bit and then easily catch it. So yes, predictable handling and really fun handling, quite frankly, because that's what you want. You don't want to machine where when you drop the throttle and start to turn, you feel like it's gonna snap around on you, and this never felt like that to me. So man, great suspension and fun handling. Now let me compare it to the YXZ though, and no, it is not quite as much fun as the YXZ. The YXZ just felt more extreme in every way. The power felt more extreme. The suspension actually swallowed things up a little bit better, and the handling was sharper. The turn in was just a little bit sharper. So there is a clear difference, and in the pure sport arena, this is clearly one notch lower than the YXZ. So yes, we are losing something with the YXZ going away, but we're not losing that much. Now talking, ergonomics and controls in here, again, I fit in here great, even on the move, no problems. My shoulder guard issue, I already pointed that out, but you know what? Once I got on the move, actually I've been riding now for a little while, I barely noticed it, so it's actually not that big a deal, and I like the nod to safety. I like the steering wheel here too, nice thumb bolsters, really easy to grab, and Yamaha hasn't given into the dark side yet and putting any buttons on their steering wheel. A lot of machines are getting those, especially pure sport machines. I do like the idea of grabbing some of those buttons really quickly, because then, if you're adjusting your suspension, let's say, you don't have to fiddle around over here. However, there is something, again, pure, we come back to that word, something pure about a steering wheel with nothing on it, and that's what I have here, and I do kind of like that as well. Also inside, you get the blue backlighting on the switches, which looks nice. It's getting a bit darker now. It's around dusk or coming up to dusk, so you really notice the lights. The contrast on that Adventure Pro screen looks awesome, and then even the footwells have a little bit of blue lighting in them as well. And yeah, they constantly say automotive quality. That's kind of the buzz term right now in side-by-sides. I'm not going to say it's straight up automotive quality, because it's just not, but those are the little nods to, you know what, yeah, why not have interior lighting, because you're not always riding during the day. So I like seeing that here as well. Now you've probably seen we've been crashing through some water holes, nothing too deep, but that actually did bring up another issue, which is your butt gets warm. You can feel pretty much instantaneously as you hit the water with speed, right away your seat gets warm, and that's just the water coming up, hitting the engine, hitting the exhaust, and then the steam dissipates, but all that steam touches the bottom of where my seat is mounted. So it's not terrible, and it's certainly not hot. It's not to the level where I'm going to say it's going to burn me or anything, but you can feel it. Now on a cold day, on a chilly day, you could say that's a feature, that's a heated seat feature, but on a hot day, that's not something you really want. So something to keep in mind, that yes, there is a bit of a heat issue when it comes to running through water in the RMAX2. Speaking on the accessories, I love a windshield. It does make a big difference. Again, keeps the water from coming in. We're running through a lot of tight trails today, and it can keep some of the leaves and bushes from whacking you in the face. So definitely recommend a windshield. This is just a plexiglass windshield, but it's plenty, and it can flip down as well if you wanted to. Ooh, we got some cool rocks here. Let's climb them. Most people go around them. We're going over, and even though we probably don't need it, it's a good excuse to use my front diff locker. So front diff locked, low range, crawl mode. Let's crawl them. Oh, low range feels good too. Nice. Because again, that's what you want. You want to be able to come up these rocks super slow and in control. And that's what low range allows you to do. So yeah, nicely done, Yamaha. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this video and a great day of riding here in Mattawa. So let me tell you, the RMAX2 doesn't quite live up to the thrills of the YXZ, but I would say this is 80% of the fun of a YXZ, but it offers 100% more utility because you have the dump bed and a hitch back there. And I think that's important, especially when you consider that this machine costs just over $34,000 here in Canada. And if I'm dropping that much money, I want a machine that can be a ton of fun out on the trails, and then it can actually get some work done around the house, and that's exactly what this RMAX2 delivers. So I will miss the YXZ, but this is a pretty good stand-in for it. Yeah, folks, that's it for this one. Now, please drop into the comments. Let me know what you thought of this video and all the off-roading you saw in this review. As always, while you're down there leaving me that comment, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of TK Power Sports, and then come right back here to the channel and see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I've got lots more riding to do. See ya!